Hello all. In this video, I'm going to explain about the consumer behavior in marketing management. The subject name is marketing management. The course code is U18 PLBL 307 and the topic is consumer behavior. Myself Indumati, Assistant Professor, Bharat Institute of Law, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research. First, let us see what is consumer behavior. Consumer behavior is nothing but the study of how the customers will select, buy, and use the products. We can say it is nothing but predicting the thought process and behavior of customers regarding their purchase behavior. In this consumer behavior process, we consider not only buy, how, and what the customers will buy, but it also involves in analyzing where, how often, and under what conditions the purchase is made by the consumers. This process of analyzing the consumer behavior is much essential for the market planning and the marketing process. And only then the thought process of each individual customers can be identified and products can be produced based on the customer needs. So, for this reason, analyzing the consumer behavior is much essential for the marketing activities. Now, let us see the different types of consumer behavior. Actually, the behavior of consumers can be classified into four types, and they are complex buying behavior, variety seeking buying behavior, dissonance reducing buying behavior, and habitual buying behavior. The first type is the complex buying behavior. In this complex buying behavior, the consumer shows much interest towards purchasing the product, and so they are highly involved in buying process, and there will be some significant differences between the brands also. So, in this case, the consumers must collect proper information about the product features, and the marketer must provide detailed information regarding the product specifications. For example, when the consumers, while buying a motorcycle, he'll be highly involved in the purchase process and shows much interest towards researching the features of the motorcycle, and also he'll have the knowledge regarding the significant differences between the brands. The second type of behavior is the variety seeking buying behavior. In this case, the consumer involvement will be low while buying the product, but there are significant differences between the brands. Consumer will prefer to buy different products not because they are dissatisfied from the earlier product, but they may like to try out other varieties of products like trying out different flavors of ice creams. Here, the consumer likes the ice cream a lot, and so he want to try different flavors from it, and this is what we call as variety seeking behavior. And another example is washing detergents. Here, the consumer would like to try uh, different varieties of washing detergents, and that is what we call as the variety seeking behavior. So, it is the duty of the marketer to encourage the consumers to buy the product by offering them some of discounts, free samples that can be given, and also the products will be advertised often in television channels and all, so as to attract the customers. The third type of behavior is the dissonance reducing buying behavior. Here, the consumer is highly involved in the purchase, but there are few differences between brands. In this case, the buyer purchases the product which is easily available to them in the market. For example, the consumer while buying a floor tiles or paints, they'll be buying them quickly because there are very few differences between the brand options. After purchasing the product, the consumer may face some sort of dissonance, and that is called as the post purchase behavior of the consumers. Next, the fourth type of behavior is the habitual buying behavior. In this case, there is low involvement of the consumer, and there will be very few differences between the brand options. This type of behavior will be seen when the consumer go for purchasing products for the day-to-day living. Here, they just go for it and purchase it. So there won't be any brand loyalty between the consumer towards their marketer, because the consumer don't need much information regarding the features of the product. So the consumers buys the product very quickly. For example, the products like toothpaste, milk, bread, etc., which we use in our day-to-day life, are all the habitual products that we use in our everyday life. Next, we will see the different types of factors which affects the consumer buying behavior. The factors are classified on the basis of culture, social factors, personal factors, and psychological factors. Under the cultural factors, there are culture, subculture, and social class. Under the social factors, there are reference group, family, roles, and status. Under the personal factors, there are age, life cycle, occupation, economic situation, lifestyle, personality, and self concept. And under the psychological factors, there are motivation, perception, learning, and attitudes. Now, let us see how these factors are influencing the purchase behavior of a consumer. First, let us see the cultural factors. Here, the culture of a person will greatly influence the behavior of a consumer while buying a product. It is based on the place they live, their surroundings, and the culture they are following. And subculture refers to the religion, nationalities, and the geographical regions also. And the social class is measured on the basis of the occupation, income level, the education, and wealth level, like upper class, middle class, and lower class. This social class will highly influence the buying behavior of the consumer, where they prefer to buy products based on their social class level. Next are the social factors. This social factor actually refers to the people in the society, or in a simpler way, we can say it refers to the people around us who influence our buying behavior. Here, the reference group is nothing but the people that we interact with each day. Like, for example, when we plan to buy any products like TV and all, we may get some suggestions from the people we are interacting day to day, and they'll be giving their suggestions uh, in that way they are influencing our buying behavior. Family obviously will influence a consumer purchasing behavior, as when a person is about to purchase any product, they would consult with their family to receive their suggestions and ideas. Here, the roles and status refers to the different kinds of role we play in our life. Like a person will be the father to his children, and the same person will have the role of a manager in his job, and they behave according to their role in family and in their workplace also. And he has a higher status in the society than the role he plays in his family. Then we have the personal factors. Surely, the purchase decision of a person will be influenced by some of his own personal characters also. The first one, the age of a person and their stages, like the childhood stage, teenage stage, and the adult stage, and all, will surely make difference in their purchasing behavior. Like during their childhood period and all, they'll be eating baby foods, and during their teenage or during their younger age, they prefer to eat different varieties of foods, and they prefer to have some special diet foods in their later years and all. Similarly, people's taste in buying clothes, furnitures, and all is also an age related factor. Next, a person's occupation will also influence their purchasing behavior. Like, for example, a doctor would buy clothes according to their profession, and while the lawyers will have some different buying pattern. Then, the economic status of a person will also influence their purchasing behavior. When a nation is prosperous and the economy is strong, which actually leads to greater money supply in the market, and that in turn have higher purchasing power for the consumers also. Whereas a weak economy surely reflects a struggling market that will result in unemployment situation, and it will lead to lower purchasing behavior. Lifestyle. The lifestyle is a way in which an individual stays in the society. Like we can say, it is the way you live, including your style, attitudes, and the products you use every day. When you have all the luxury items and can buy whatever you want, that is an example of your luxury lifestyle. The buying behavior is highly influenced by the lifestyle of a consumer. For example, when a consumer leads a healthy lifestyle, then he will buy healthy products, like he prefer to purchase healthy foods rather than some junk foods and all. Then the personality of a person. Here, it refers to the character of a person, the thought process of a person, feelings of a person, and the behavior of a person that makes them unique in their own way. An example is that consumers will prefer to buy branded products and use them confidently, which shows their confident personality. Then the self concept, which is also known as the self image. Here, it is how someone thinks about themselves and evaluates themselves. Like it is a mental picture of who we are as a person. For example, thoughts like I'm a good friend or I'm a kind person, like this belief of oneself is what we call as the self concept. Then we have the psychological factors. Here, a consumer's buying choice will be influenced by these four major psychological factors, which are motivation, perception, learning, and attitudes. A person may have any kind of need at any time. This need will become motive at some point of time. Like, for example, when you need a product and you were thinking of buying that product for a very long time, then that thought will become as a motivating factor for you to purchase that product. The next one, the perception. It is nothing but how we judge about something around us. It is a process, like where a customer collects information about a product, and they'll interpret those information to make a meaningful image about a particular product. Like for example, when a consumer sees advertisements, the promotions, and some other customer reviews of the products that they are actually looking for, in the social medias and all, the feedbacks that they see as a reviews relating to the product that they are about to purchase, they will develop an impression about the product, and they have their own perception about that product. Next is the learning. Here, when a person buys a product, he gets to learn something more about that product. This learning comes over a period of time, and that too with the experience. A consumer's learning is always depends on his own skills and his knowledge about using the product. Then attitude. Here, attitude actually refers to our feelings of our likes and dislikes towards a product. Here, consumer attitudes towards a product will greatly influence the success of failure of a firm's marketing strategy. When they like a product, they'll think of buying the product. When they dislike the product, they won't be buying that product. It all depends on the attitude of the consumers. The next topic is the marketing mix. Here, the marketing mix actually refers to the set of actions that a company uses to promote its brand of products in the market. Here, marketing mix is the process of designing and integrating various elements of marketing. So, we can say it is the combination of the marketing elements, and that element is what is referred to as the 4 P's of marketing mix, which is called as the products, price, promotion, and place. So these are what we call as the 4 P's of marketing mix, which are the marketing mix elements we can refer to. So, according to Philip Kotler, has actually explained about the marketing mix, and he has given his definition, which goes like: marketing mix is the combination of 4 elements called the 4 P's, which is product, price, place, and promotion, that every company has the option of adding, subtracting, or modifying in order to create a desired marketing strategy. So, it is up to the idea of the company to have any combination of marketing mix element. So, these are the elements of marketing mix. These marketing mix elements are called as the 7 P's and 7 C's of marketing mix. Initially, there were only 4 P's, but later on, 3 more elements were added, and that came up with the 7 P's of marketing mix elements. When we look at the elements from the organizational phasing, we have the 7 P's, which are product, price, place, promotion, people, process, and physical evidence. And when we look at the elements from the customer facing, we have these 7 C's, which are consumer, cost, convenience, communication, caring, coordination, and confirmation. Now, let us see the organizational facing elements of marketing mix. The first 4 P's are called as the producer oriented model of marketing mix. So these were the initial elements that were introduced, since it is actually based on the organization, the producer, right? It is called as the producer oriented model of marketing mix. Here, the first element is the product. It actually refers to all the products that are tangible and which satisfy the needs and wants of the consumer. It also includes services here. The tangible products are goods like the mobile, television, etc. Whereas the intangible products are what we called as the services here, like the financial service in a bank, the health treatment by a doctor, legal advice of a lawyer, and all. So all these comes under the services market. Next element is the price. It is the amount that is actually charged by the marketer for a product, and the amount that is paid by the consumer to buy the product. The price determination is one crucial factor which should take into account the organization's profit and its survival in the market. Making adjustments in the price may affect the demand and also the sales of the product. Marketers are required to be aware of the customer's perceived value of the product to set the right price. Then the promotion here, it actually refers to the different methods of communication that are used by the marketer to communicate all the information about the product to their target market, to their people that they are actually targeting. Here, promotion includes advertising, publicity, personal selling, public relation process, and sales promotion process and all. So, in this way, they may able to promote their products. Then, the place. It is where the products are made available for the customers to buy and use them. So, when deciding about this place factor, the organization, the firm, they must make sure that the products are made available at a convenient and accessible places for the consumers, so that they can able to be easily buy the product at their convenient places. Next, the later added 3 elements are the people, process, and physical evidence. Here, people are the individuals who are involved in the sale and purchase of products or services. That means the buyer and the seller, right? Then the process here, The process includes the various procedures which helps the product to finally reach out its target market, that is the customers. The process may be marketing research and production process, distribution process, advertising process, and everything. So this is what we call as all the marketing process. The next one is the physical evidence. It actually refers to the elements which your customers see when interacting with your business. Almost all the services include some physical elements. Here, physical evidence provides some surety of the quality of experience that a company is offering. It can be particularly useful when a customer has not bought from the from the organization before, and they need some reassurance, or if he is expected to pay for a service before it gets delivered to the consumer. Like when we order some products online and which doesn't have the option of cash on delivery or not, we have to pay before receiving the product, right? And for that we need some assurance from the brand, and this assurance must be given to the customers in terms of their brand guarantee or return or replacing of the products. Now let us see the consumer facing elements of marketing mix. The first four C's are called as the consumer oriented model of marketing mix. Here, the first element is the consumer. In 4 P's, we have seen the first element as the product, right? Here in this model, the product is actually replaced by the consumer. Here, the product should satisfy the customer needs. Marketers should focus on more, right? So they have to focus more on the consumer satisfaction only. The next element is the cost. Here, the price is actually replaced by cost. And the cost refers to the total cost of owning a product. It also includes the cost of production also, the cost to use the product, and the cost of changing the product. There is the exchange process that happens, and the cost of not choosing the competitor's product also. So that should be considered initial. The next element is the communication. Here, promotion is actually replaced by the communication. This communication includes advertising, public relation, personal selling, and the method that can be used for proper and timely communication between the marketer and consumer. Next element is the convenience. Here, the place, we have seen the place element in 7 P's, right? 4 P's. Here, the place is replaced by convenience, where it actually focuses on the ease of buying for the consumer, where the product must be made available at a convenient place for the customers. Then the extended C's are caring, coordination, and confirmation. The individuals or the customers who are involved in the selling or buying process must be given utmost care. And coordination is very much essential for the process to be achieved successfully. Like there should be proper coordination from the production process to the distribution process, marketing and selling process and all. And it should be confirmed that the product has reached out to its target market. So that is what is confirmation refers to. The next topic is the buying motives of the customer. The buying motives are nothing but the motives which persuades the desire of people, so that they buy a particular product, that means the goods or services and all. It actually refers to the thoughts, feelings, emotions which actually arouse in the minds of buyers to buy a particular product. Here, the four important buying motives are emotional motives, prestige motives, rational motives, and patronage motives. So the buying motives are classified in this way. Under emotional motives, there are fear, love and affection, curiosity and fashion. Under the prestige motives, there are vanity, pride and emulation. Under rational motives, there are profitability motive, health and security. Under the patronage motive, there are brand loyalty and store loyalty. Other motives are location, quality and service motive. First, under the emotional motives, it is fear. People spend much on the insurance policy, bank deposits, and bank lockers, medicines, and also in some cases weapons also to be safe from the fear of death and some the bad health because of poverty, because of the reason loss of property and all, because of fear only, right? So fear is a very strong emotion which actually motivates people to buy the goods and services, which in turn helps them to minimize the fear. Next is the love and affection. All human beings, they love other members of the family and society, and they also want to be loved by the other persons. They buy different things for the persons whom they actually love, right? So it may be their children, relatives, neighbors, whoever it is. Then curiosity. Here, people are naturally very curious about trying some new products and all. They like to see, use, experience new things that they actually see or that actually came into trend. They are attracted towards newly introduced goods and services in the market. Next is the fashion. People buy goods or services due to new fashion which is available in the market. They buy clothes, furniture, jewels, cosmetics, perfumes, some different makeup goods and all to imitate others' fashion. Then under the rational motives, the first one is the profitability motive. People want to buy goods or services if they are actually available at a lower price. Due to this, they visit different shops, and when they find goods at a cheaper rate, they will buy them. Such buying motive of a customer is called as the profitability buying motive. Then each the health, right? Each and every person cares for their physical and mental health. Here, every person buys as far as possible healthy foods, pure drinking water, medicines, and materials for their physical exercise also, and some like shoes for a morning walk and all. People buy these kind of goods considering their health. Next is the security. Here, people buy properties for their future security, and for personal security, they will buy. They will actually purchase life insurance policies and all. So it is all for their security reason. Next, under the prestige motive, the first one is the vanity. When we want to get praise from others, we call it as the prestige or vanity, right? People buy goods and services to show others to be rich, strong, and powerful. So they can be recognized easily and praised by others. Pride is what protects and promotes a person's ego and self image. Our society is a class based society that is divided into high class, middle class, and low class. And all. The emulation is to copy something that is achieved by someone else and trying to do it as well as they have. So, according to this motive, buyer purchase better goods or services than their competitors. Next is the patronage motive. It is nothing but being loyal to someone. So here under the brand loyalty, if any customers buy only certain brand repeatedly, so then it is called as the brand loyalty of the customers. So this actually indicates that the customers is fully satisfied with the goods or services from the same brand. Next for the store loyalty. If any customers buy from the same shop for a longer period of time, this is called as store loyalty of the customers. Comfortable place, lower price, quality goods, quality services, reputation of the shop, and seller develop the loyalty in customers to visit the same retail store. The other motives are the location motive, like if the buyer buys the service goods and services from the nearest store, from their residence, or from the place which is suitable for them, then it is called as location motive. The quality motive, if the buyers buys goods and services because of its quality, then it is called as quality motive. Then service motive, if the buyers are attracted by the services provided by the seller, that is called as service motive, like getting home delivery service, sales on credit and all, free installation service and all. These are all the examples of the service motive. Next topic is the STP approach. Here, STP marketing stands for segmentation, targeting, and positioning. It is a three-step process that allows for the development of a specific marketing strategy. First, the market will be divided into segments based on different types of customers. Then, each segment will be targeted based on what they prefer to buy. And position the product is in each divided segment. So first they will segment the market, then they will target the market, and they will position their products in each targeted market. So this is how the STP approach will be done in an organization. The reason why this STP approach is so effective is that it actually breaks down the big markets, that means the broader markets, into smaller parts, making it easier to develop specific approaches for reaching and engaging with their potential customers instead of having to use a generic marketing strategy and all. So that will not be much effective, obviously, right? First, let us see about the market segmentation. So, as we have discussed, market segmentation is a process of dividing the market of potential customers into different groups and segments based on some characters. So, here are the four different types of market segmentation, which are geographic segmentation, demographic segmentation, behavior segmentation, and psychographic segmentation. First is the geographic segmentation. It is nothing but segmenting the market based on a location like the country, state, and region. The purchase behavior of people differs from place to place, and so the market has to be segmented based on the regions also. For example, the lifestyle products would sell very well in the cities and all, metro cities and all, like Chennai, Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata and all, but they do not sell in the small towns. Next is the demographic segmentation. Here, it divides the market based on the basis of some demographic variables like age, gender, dividing based on marital status, family size, based on incomes, based on religions, occupation, nationality, and all. Right? The demographic segmentation is seen almost in every industry, like automobile industry, beauty products industry, mobile phone industry, and all. For example, the products from the same brand will be available exclusively for babies, women, and men separately. So this is because they have segmented their market based on age factor. So this is how the demographic segmentation will happen. Next is the behavioral segmentation. The market is also segmented based on the audience behavior, their usage, and their preferences and choices, and their decision making also. Here, the segments are usually divided based on their knowledge of the product and usage of the product. For example, a sports person may prefer an energy drink as an effective product to boost his own energy, right? He'll be the heavy user of that product. But when it comes to a normal person, he will buy the drink just because he likes the taste of the drink, and he'll be the light user of that product. So it all depends on their behavior only. Next is the psychographic segmentation. It actually refers to who you are as a person. This segmentation is based on personality, the beliefs of a person, their attitude, and their own interest of a person. For example, a person having a luxurious lifestyle may consider having an air conditioner in every room as in his every rooms as a need, basic need, whereas a person living in the same city but having a normal lifestyle, he will consider that thing as a luxury one, right? So it all depends on their psychological thoughts only. So after identifying the segments, the marketer has to decide about which segment they have to target. So here there are different patterns for the target market selection, and they are single segment concentration, selective specialization, product specialization, market specialization, and full market coverage. Here, the P1, P2, and P3 denotes the different types of products, and M1, M2, M3 that denotes the different types of markets. So first, under the single segment specialization, The marketer decides to focus on a single segment only. It is also called as concentrated marketing. The marketer understands the needs and wants of the segment, and they focus on that one segment only. Examples are the Rolex brand concentrates on watches and the Porsche concentrates on the sports car market, right? So the next under the selective specialization, the second type, the marketer focuses on two or more segments with different marketing mixes. It offers varied products and services to the various segments. Examples of soaps and detergents from P&G, Procter and Gamble, Unilever, ITC brands and all. So that will be an example. Then under the product specialization, the marketer deals with giving specialized products in the same product line. Here, the company specializes in a single product category but serves in a wider market. For example, a coffee distributor might sell coffee to a retail store and also to some number of coffee shops, and they even directly sell them to the end customer through some online mode and all online stores and all. So that will be an example for product specialization. So next under the market specialization, the marketer deals with one specific market only. Here, the company specializes in serving a specific market by offering a diverse range of products. The advantage of this pattern is that in case of a monopolistic situation, the marketer has lot of potential to grow. Next is the full market coverage. Here, the marketer focuses on the entire market. It can be of two forms, differentiated and undifferentiated market. In the differentiated form, the marketer would operate in the whole market and offer different products for the various segments. Then under the undifferentiated form, it is also known as the mass marketing. Here, the market would treat the market as a single segment and offer a single product. For example, the soft drinks that are available in the market. So the next step after the segmenting and targeting is to position the product. It is nothing but the brand name should stand in the customer's mind, and in order to differentiate itself from the competitor. So there are two different positioning strategies. One is point of parity, which is called as POP, and the other one is points of difference. So under the points of parity, the product will not be unique in nature and it will be the same in other competitive brands also, right? The parity here refers to the same state, being in the same state. So there won't be any uniqueness towards the product. For example, the Complan, Milo, and Bonvita. So they are all positioned as it will all help the children to grow. Energy drinks or it will help the children to grow up, right? So it will all has they all has been positioned as it will help the children to grow. So all these brands they will have that similar positioning strategy. The points of parity has two basic forms. One is category point of parity, another is competitive point of parity. The first one under the category point of parity, it means that the brand should offer some necessary category features in order to qualify being a part of the product line. For example, all mouthwashes contains antimicrobials. It will be similar for all types of mouthwashes. So that is category point of parity. So to come under this category, they should have some feature like a mouthwash should actually contain the antimicrobial property, right? So that is the category to be in that feature, right? So the next one is the competitive point of parity. It actually refers to how a product being the same category line, it differs from the other brand of the same product. So it may actually stand out from one feature when it is compared to the competitive brand and all, right? So under the points of difference, the product will be unique in nature from other brands. When in case of the points of parity, there won't be any difference, right? There won't be uniqueness. So here under the points of difference, the products will be unique in nature when it's compared with the other brands. The positioning will be based on the unique selling proposition. So they will have some uh, uniqueness when it is actually compared with other brands. For example, Now many brand has come up with giving the option for the customers where they can able to customize their own products based on their preferences. So this is an example. Next, we shall see the nature of consumer behavior. So there are some nature for basically for the consumer behavior. Consumer behavior is actually influenced by various factors, as we have seen, right? Such as the product design, price of the product, promotion, packaging, positioning, and distribution, and all. So it can also be influenced by personal factors, as we have seen, like the age factor, gender factor, education, income level, and we have all seen this under the topic of factors influencing the consumer buying behavior. It is also influenced by the psychological factors, social factors, and all, like we have seen in the buying motives. The consumer behavior actually undergoes a constant change because it cannot be static. Obviously, it will be dynamic only, as we do not have the same preferences all the time. It actually changes with the trend, right? So, for example, kids would prefer colorful and fancy food pairs and all, but when they grow up as teenagers and all, and young and adults, they prefer trendy footwears. And as middle-aged and senior citizens, they'll prefer some more formal footwear. So this is an example. Obviously, the behavior of consumer will undergo a constant change over a period of time. The purchasing behavior obviously varies from one person to another person because all the consumers do not behave in the same manner, right? They have different thoughts and preferences. So, for example, some consumers are technoholics. They go on shopping and spending beyond their means, right? They even borrow money from their friends, relatives, or even banks to spend on shopping those technical products. But there are also some other consumers who, despite having more money, they do not go for even for the regular purchase, and they avoid purchase of those kind of products. Then the consumer behavior, it also varies from region to region, place to place, right? Region to region or country to country. For example, the behavior of urban consumers is actually different from that when we compare with the rural consumers and all. Some rich rural people may think twice to spend on luxury products despite having sufficient money, whereas the urban consumers may even take bank loans to buy those luxury products like cars and other household appliances and all. Then the marketer needs to have a good knowledge of the consumer behavior. A positive consumer behavior may lead to a purchase decision. Then consumer behavior is different for different products. There are some consumers who may buy more quantity of certain products. For example, teenagers may spend heavily on products such as mobile phones and branded, they may not spend on generic and academic readings and all, right? But a middle-aged person may spend less on clothing, but they may invest money in savings, insurance schemes, pension schemes, and all. Then the buying behavior of consumers may lead to higher standard of living. The more a person buys the goods and services, the higher will be their standard of living. But if a person spends less on goods and services, despite having good income, they actually prevent themselves from higher standard of living. Then the consumer behavior is not only influenced by the status of consumer, but it also reflects the status of them. For example, the consumer who owns luxury cars, watches, and other items, they are considered belonging to a higher status. Obviously, it reflects the status of the consumer also. Next, we shall see what are the rights and responsibilities of a consumer. As a consumer, what are the rights we have and what are our responsibilities as a consumer towards the society. First, let us look into the rights of the consumer. They are right to safety, right to information, right to choose, right to be heard, right to seek redressal, and right to consumer education. The right to safety, it means the right to be protected against the marketing of goods and services, which may cause some hazards to life and property of the consumer. So we have the right to safety. Then next is the right to information. It says that the consumer should be informed about the product. Like the product packaging should have the complete details of the product, like the ingredients list and other details that must be clearly given and not to be hidden from the consumer. Then the consumer has the right to choose and they should not be forced to select the product. A consumer should be convinced of the product he is about to choose and should make a decision by himself. Then the consumer has the right to be heard. For example, if a consumer is dissatisfied with the product he has actually purchased, then they have all the right to file a complaint against that, and that complaint must be heard and addressed within a specific time. Then the consumer has the right to seek redressal. In case a product is unable to satisfy the consumer, then they have the right to get the product replaced, or they can get compensation for that, or get the amount in return, which they have actually invested in the product. Then the consumer has the right to get educated about the product they are actually buying. Like if they have any issue related to the product that they have bought, they should know how to claim for the compensation. Now we'll see what are all the responsibilities as a consumer we have towards the society. So the consumer should have an obligation to pay all their bills and clear these when they are actually due, right? Prompt payment of bills. Next, each consumer has a responsibility of ensuring that he should not utilize the products that are harmful to the environment. He should be responsible towards protecting our environment, right? For example, a consumer should ensure that he dispose all the wrappers and covers safely in a proper way. Then the consumer should be aware of what he buys. It is the responsibility of the consumer to be alert and to question the issues such as the terms and conditions of the services and all. And a consumer should take necessary action if they do not get what they are promised to, right, from the seller. And also they should ensure that other users also receives that fair deal. It is wrong for a consumer to notice some weakness in a service that they have received and be remain silent about that. And a consumer has a responsibility to protect all the communication equipments and facilities within his visibility. And that's all about this video. Thank you.